today's episode, I've got a little bit of different surroundings for you today. I thought I'd mix it up a little bit, so I'm in a different room, a different space, because it just felt like the right vibe today. And today I want to talk to you about politics. Yes, that subject that we're not meant to talk about. It's usually banned from polite discussion. And I make a point of never, ever getting political on my socials, or as much as I can help it. But I thought it was pretty relevant today, and it was a good time to have that discussion. So, politics it is. Now, before you get overexcited and start to think, oh my gosh, this is a great drama, we're going to get Jane talking political, and it's going to be all kinds of trouble caused. I'm not a complete anarchist, although V for Vendetta and Braveheart are two of my favourite films, so the jury's out a little bit. However, I do have something to say on the matter, and I do want to share my own perspective on the subject of politics. And I want to make it very clear before I start that I don't care what, if any, political affiliation you have. I am not interested in whether you consider yourself to be Conservative, to be Labour, to be Lib Dem, to be Green, to be Reform, to be Monster Raving Loony Party, or any other political party. That is not my interest. My interest is in what matters to you. And the fact that a lot of us are so far removed from our own thoughts, feelings, behaviours, from our own values, that we don't really know what matters. We don't know what matters anymore. We're so caught up in the daily grind, and we're so caught up in the stress of life in this day and age, that we really lose touch with what matters. And what tends to happen is, if you've heard me talk about this before, is we have the flock response. We have the flock and the form response at full play, and there's an awful lot of manipulation, whether you realise it or not, from the media, from campaigns, from all kinds of places, who are fully aware of this and will play to that, will play to the heart-brain coherence, to the emotional responses, to the words and the language, NLP field day, the linguistics around what they want you to do. And that is regardless of what political party we're looking at. Now, there are some great people. There are some great people doing some great things. And before you ask, no, this is not a campaign speech. I am most definitely not running for anything at all. That is the last thing that I would ever do. However, I know a lot of people who are running locally, and I know there are a lot of great people doing great things and making massive progress and massive waves. I also know that the majority, if not every single person that I speak to, regardless of how fiercely they support a party, will also, on the end of the sentence, agree that we cannot rely on governments and institutions to make any real change, because they don't. It doesn't happen. It's been proven time and time again. They also agree that, contentious issue, I know, but politicians can't be trusted. Sweeping statement. I think it's pretty much a generalisation that I feel in my bones is the truth. Big government level, they don't really care about the little people. They're not really bothered about change. Whether you go down any kind of rabbit hole or conspiracy theory is irrelevant. The fact remains that most people agree that the politicians and the governments don't actually care about you. Yet they'll still be fiercely sticking with a party, because they want to have something to believe in. They want to have something that they can have hope and that they can believe in. And I've said this on stage, what I just mentioned to you then, a quote that time and time again when we do shows, and I'll say on the stage, we cannot rely on governments and institutions to create any lasting change. That has to come from the people. And the people have power. The people have power, and we have power in numbers. And no, I am not about to try and engage you all in a revolution either, although I would love to do that. But it's truth, We have power, we have autonomy, and we have our own power to create our own change. And that's the message that I want to get out to you today. Whether you're going to be voting or not is irrelevant. Whether you decide to abstain because you're fed up of the whole thing, whether you are, sticking with the party that you've always voted for, whether you have specific views on this, whether you are confused and changing your mind and you don't know what to do, you don't know who to believe. regardless of your stance or your situation, the best piece of advice, and again, this is just from my own perspective, that I can give to you is know yourself. Know yourself, know your values, and know what matters to you. It's simple yet so complex, because we're so busy focusing on what, Terry down the road has got a sign in his window that says that looks all right, I think I might go with that. And like I've seen Tracy on Facebook is really passionate about this and I kind of agree with that, so I might go that way. And this person says this, and I had the flyer through the door that says that, and I saw this on the telly. And we don't bring it back to what actually matters to us. What are your values? What's aligned with your values and what's important to you? And if you're not sure of that, then, shameless pitch, get onto my Mindset Mojo series. So the Mindset Mojo series on Mojo School will really support you and help you build a toolkit and help you reevaluate and work out what matters to you and who you are. What is your identity, passion and purpose? What are your core values? That makes it a bit easier then to align and to find out what resonates most with that. So it's a really important piece of work to do, I believe. And it might be different within a family unit. You might have people within a family unit that have, for generations and generations had a certain thought process and certain patterns. You might disagree with that. You might be a cycle breaker, but you don't know that until you dig a bit deeper and find out what resonates and what lights you up. I would suggest that you read the manifestos of these political parties. Don't just blindly get into this flock response of, well, everyone's doing that, or everyone says I should do that, and that seems to be what most people around here do. Read up, do your research, look at every single political party. That's exactly what I do. It takes a bit of time, but this is an important thing. Find out what they stand for. Find out what it is, what's on their manifesto, what are they pledging, what are they promising, how realistic is it, what's their track record. Use your critical thinking and your discernment and your assessment before you make a decision. Don't just go and scribble on a piece of paper because that's what everybody else is telling you to do. Really work out what matters to you. And I think for me, the most important thing, whatever party that you affiliate with, whether you are totally and utterly pissed off with politics and you absolutely hate the whole concept and you wish we didn't have to have a government and you really wish that someone would just get their Guy Fawkes mask on and do something about it, if that's your standpoint. If you're completely, nonplussed and you don't care and you're not really interested and you're just breezing on by, whether that's your viewpoint and your approach, regardless of how you feel about this topic, please listen to me when I say that you have the power to create change. We cannot rely on these spaces and places and these people. We have been taught that that's what we do, and we just stick a tick in a box and somebody else will fix all the problems. And then we're really baffled when it doesn't happen, and we're really hurt when we find that there's lots of corruption and actually people are just in it for their own ends and they want to be able to have more things and more power and more control and more money. But they said that they weren't mean, and they said that they were going to do this for me, and they lied. But I don't really know what else to do, so I'm just going to pick the next person next time, and they'll be honest and they're going to do what they say they're going to do. History says otherwise, and I know it's more complex than this, and I'm going to get lots of comments and everyone's going to have something to say about it. This is my perspective, that we can see a long line of patterns emerging. I'm not even going to go into detail because you all know what I'm talking about. There are patterns that emerge and we can kind of follow a formula of how this is going to pan out. And I can tell you now, how it's going to pan out is not good for people like you and I. It's not good for the people lining up at the food banks trying to feed their families and themselves. It's not good for the people who don't have homes, who are living in tents and having their tent poles cut by the authorities because it looks a little bit messy on the streets. It's not good for the young people in educational settings that are harmful for their mental and emotional and physical well-being, that are working through systems that are designed to fail them. It's not going to be useful for the parents raising babies in this day and age, not knowing how they're going to support them and how when they grow up they're ever going to be able to own a home or support their own children or have any kind of quality of life. It's not good for our military or our veterans that are coming out from serving their country and then left on the streets with no support, no help, bounced around between services. It's not useful for any of that. It's not good for any of our frontline services, the people that work so hard, the people who help people. It's not good for any of us. So what we need to do is get out of a space where we just lose hope completely and where we put blind faith in the people who time and time again have proven to us that they do not have our best interests at heart and that they have other agendas. We can do that. We can take some power. We can research. We can find the party and we can find the person that aligns the most with our values and what matters most to us. And we can support them wholeheartedly. And as I said at the beginning, I don't care who you affiliate with. I will respect and support you regardless, because I know that it matters to you and it means something to you. I might not agree with that. I might not align with that, but that won't stop me from having a friendship or a relationship or a really good conversation with you without any kind of conflict or aggression, because that's what we should all be doing. You know, it's about respect, it's about compassion, it's about kindness, it's about understanding. So, you know, I support you and respect you in any decision you make, in any direction you decide to go in. But I would ask you that you think about the power that you hold and the things that you can do to make a difference, because that's how we create change. We can tick the boxes, we can cast our votes, we can hope and pray that things are different this time and that we are supported and we are looked after, and people who are in a decision-making capacity do have our best interests at heart and will make a difference. And while we're doing that, we can take solid, decisive, aligned action to do it for ourselves. And there's so many ways that you can do that. You know, my whole life is dedicated to this. My whole life is dedicated to, you know, supporting people to build their resilience, to build their strategies and empower people to make their own decisions and to follow what lights them up. You know, that is what I do. But there are so many little ways while you're on that journey, while you're learning and while you're trying to suss out what on earth's going on for you and how you can bring that locus of control internally. We talk about this in Mindset Mojo and in my coaching. You have this external locus of control where you believe that everyone has to fix me. I have no control over my own life whatsoever. I have no accountability, no responsibility. External. The control is out there. I just need to wait for somebody to help, somebody to fix me, somebody to do something to make this feel better. And while I'm waiting, I'm going to put on as many masks and filters as I can. I'm going to pretend everything's fine and I'm just going to suffer. Or we can bring it back to this internal locus of control where we learn the skills and we build the toolkits and we understand that we have an element of control and we have way more power than we are led to believe and that we understand and that we realise. And we can action solutions that we are expecting other people to action for us. We just need to understand that, and we need to do it collectively, and we need to find strength in numbers, and we need to find common ground. And where we can't find common ground, we need to find compassion and understanding and respect for differences in opinions. You know, it's this division that causes the problem now. It's unity that we need, and together we are massively strong and massively powerful. So little tips, little real-time tips, just engaging with things that make you feel good, you know. Getting back to this podcast, The Art of Feeling Better, and the things that I've been doing and the tips that all my guests have been giving. And the playlist, if you're not on Spotify yet, get on the Spotify playlist, The Art of Feeling Better. We've been building this great playlist, just feel-good tunes that everybody's sharing, and there's some great songs on there that I'd never heard of that now I love, and it's just a nice thing to use. So there you go, it's a free resource. Things that light you up, things that make you feel better. When you're in a space where you are not in your sympathetic nervous system fight or flight response, you can access the part of your brains that allow you to use logic and reasoning and discernment. And if we're all kept in a place where we are in this fight or flight response because of what we are eating up in the media, what we're experiencing in our daily lives without any tools to support ourselves, then obviously we're going to be susceptible to any messaging out there, to any psychological warfare, to all of the linguistics that are used to get us to make decisions that aren't informed. Empower yourselves with information, inform yourselves and make the best possible choice you can for you, your family and your community. Engage with things. You know, look at the 5 Ways to Wellbeing framework. We do loads of work on that in Mojo School. Line yourself up with things locally. You know, it's not all about, you know, placards and chaining yourself to railings. That was my old strategy. It doesn't work, trust me. It's not about that. It's not about fighting. It's not about resistance. It's not about aggression. You know, that is what we will be led to believe, and we can't do that. Fighting is the wrong way to do it. It's empowering. That's the way we do it. You know, we empower ourselves and we make our own difference. There's so many brilliant community initiatives out there. And if you're local to me, which I know a lot of my audience at the moment are, because I'm not quite global yet, although I'm working on it, then we have some amazing organisations, some charities and not-for-profits and third sector organisations, social enterprises, doing incredible things in our very area. Engage with them. Go there for your own well-being and empower yourself and meet the right people that light you up and that help you on your journey. Volunteer. So many good brain chemicals and you know, having purpose and having purposeful activity. Go and volunteer for one of your local community groups. There's tons of cool things that you can do. You know, do these things. This is how we build that together, and this is how we actually create the changes that we're reading about and that we're listening to, going, I will make this change for you. We're going, that's what we need. Do it. We can make these changes. We can do this. We can make these changes and not wait for people to do it. There's obviously big systemic changes that need to happen that we have, you know, limited control over. That's where our votes go. But there's so much that we can action in real time without waiting for, you know, the rescue that is never going to come. Get out there and do it. Get out, take the power back. Reclaim your power. Work out what matters to you. Realign with your core values. Make the right decision. Discern properly. Use your critical thinking brain. Make your decision the right way. And then take your active power and do something good with it in your own community. Honestly, it's the game changer. This is the way we all need to start working and the approach that we all need to start taking. Because imagine if every single person started to behave a little bit differently. If every single person out there started to make slightly different decisions in their daily life. More empowered, more informed choices. Less fight or flight response. And slightly better decision making and choices that impacted their own well-being and their own health and that of their community. Imagine how powerful that is if everybody starts to do that. And that doesn't rely on anybody else. That doesn't rely on years worth of trickle down stuff that may or may not appear. It's really rapid, swift change. And the more people that can start to think in this way and can start to make really small changes in their lives, the ripple effect from that, the impact from that tiny pebble that ripples out to everyone and everything else is huge. And you multiply that and you magnify that by the amount of people that we have. And you can see that is how we change the world. That's the question that I ask all of my guests. How do we change the world? That's how we change the world. By working on ourselves, by doing the inner work, by empowering ourselves. We all do our little bit and we collectively change the world. And that also is what we do on the micro. My second question to my guests is, what can people do in real time every day to help themselves feel better? It's the same thing, exactly that. Realign with your values. Lindy said it a few weeks ago, what is my why? Realign, work out what matters to you and start to behave around those parameters. Make those small changes. Get yourself well. Make yourself feel better. Notice that ripple effect. Reaches out far and wide, and collectively we create that change. So I'm going to put another tune on the Spotify playlist on the back of this. And I think I'm going to pick, well, I'm going to see the Manic Street Preachers today. So we're going to the Eisteddfod to see the Manics. And when I hear, if you tolerate this, then your children will be next. That power from that song is like, oh, I need to put it across all my videos as like an impact piece. So it makes me emotional just thinking about it. So I think, even though it's not necessarily a dancey feel-good tune that I've been suggesting, I want to put that on the Spotify playlist because it's so impactful and because it will make us all think, and it makes us realise and think about the power that we hold, and the power that we hold not just for ourselves but to impact those that come after us. So here in Wales we have something called the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, and I try and do everything around that thought for my own children and their children and whoever comes after that, is the decisions we make now are going to have such a wide-reaching impact on those that come next. So I'm going to put that on the playlist. We're going to have Manics. If you tolerate this, then your children will be next. And hopefully that's a bit of food for thought today to get you thinking a little bit differently about the decisions you make. And that's my political rant for the day. So You still don't know any of my political affiliations because that's not the point, and that doesn't matter. What matters is what I'm doing and the decisions I'm making for me, my family, my community. And I encourage you guys to do the same. So whatever you're doing for the rest of the day, have a lovely one, have a good one. I'll be back with another extra special guest next week. But for now, I'm signing off. I will see you all very soon.